truck, Boy Lincoln X-ray 985, should come back up next.
21.
Start me a card for a parking problem on the truck when you're ready.
Rockingham 505. 21.
Start me a card for a parking problem.
Beyond the Call is a monthly program featuring public safety and educational topics with the Richmond Police Department. Beyond the Call is brought to you exclusively by Babcon Electric.
Hi, I'm Rick Babuka, Vice President of Babcon Electric. Babcon Electric is proud to support Beyond the Call. We have been an active community sponsor for over 20 years. And if you need electric repair, don't hesitate to call. Call Babcon Electric at 859-623-3848 and expect superior service. Service beyond the call. Enjoy the program.
Hi, we'd like to welcome you to our episode of Beyond the Call with the Richmond Police Department. This is brought to you by WBON TV and Babcon Electric. We're kind of out of our element today. This is the first time ever that we've been on location. We are actually on location in Frankfort in the state capitol. We are actually in the conference room for the Supreme Court here, and my special guest today is Supreme Court Justice Bill Cunningham. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you, Josh. I'm glad to be here with you. Glad that you asked me to be on the program.
So every month we put this program together, and we want to educate our community, and we want to talk to people about your concerns that you've brought to us, and we want to interview different guests like Justice Cunningham today, and we just want to get information out there that maybe people don't know. So we wanted to change it up a little bit from the studio and do something a little bit different, which brings us here today. So again, we are happy that you're here today.
Thank you.
So I guess we're going to dive right into it. I'm just going to ask you kind of a series of questions as we go through here, and you just feel free to just talk candidly to us, and just we want to know who you are. So you've served the court system in a lot of different capacities over the years, and you just told me just a few moments ago before we went on air here that you were a police officer. So tell us about your life and how you became a member of the Supreme Court here.
Well, I grew up in Old Eddyville, which is now underwater. Lake Barkley impounded, when they impounded Lake Barkley, it played Old Eddyville. I came within 200 yards of being born in the penitentiary. I was born right across the street from Kentucky State Penitentiary in Old Eddyville. Grew up right across the street. Became knowledgeable and associated with criminals. In and out of the penitentiary as a bat boy when I was little. I guess you could say I was in and out of penitentiary as a juvenile, and I got to know the prison system really well. And then I went on and went to college, went to law school, went to the Army. I was in the Army for 4 years, Germany, Vietnam, Korea. Came back to practice law in my hometown in 1974 as public defender for the inmates of the penitentiary. A lot of people don't realize the penitentiary, any prison, basically is a community. Mm-hmm. And like any community, inmates will commit crimes. They'll do things just like people do in a regular community. So I was a public defender representing inmates that were indicted outside of court for things from escape, contraband, murder. And I did that for 2 years, and I ran for Commonwealth Attorney and the 56th Judicial Circuit, which is 4 counties: Caldwell, Livingston, Lyon, Tree County. It goes all the way down the neck there in far west Kentucky from Ohio River all the way to the Tennessee line. I was Commonwealth Attorney for 11 years, and then I became Circuit Judge for 15 in that same circuit. And then in 2006 ran for Kentucky Supreme Court, and I've been here about 12 years. So
is the Supreme Court an election? Okay. So what made you decide that you wanted to do the Supreme Court?
I will say this for the benefit of youngsters out there, not all of us have the burning bush. I don't know why you're a police officer or why you do what you do. But my situation kind of evolved into it. If somebody, when I was growing up as a barefoot boy in Old Eddyville, had told me I was going to grow up to be a lawyer and a writer and a judge, I'd probably drown myself in the Cumberland River. But you grow and you see things you want to do. When I became a public defender, I didn't have any idea I wanted to be Commonwealth attorney, but I love trying cases. And I saw that Commonwealth attorneys in a rural area is the only people that really try a lot of cases, them and the public defenders. So I ran for Commonwealth attorney, tried a lot of cases. When I became Commonwealth attorney, I had no idea I wanted to be circuit judge. But after I was Commonwealth attorney and built up that experience, I felt like that I could take those experience to a higher level or different level. Became circuit judge. When I became circuit judge, I had no ambition to be on the state Supreme Court. But after I served there 15 years, I felt like that I had the experience and background that could contribute to the Supreme Court of Kentucky. There's 7 of us, and we're represented by, we're elected from 7 different districts, geographical. Mine's way out west, from the Mississippi River up to Mammoth Cave. It's very important, I feel, that your Supreme Court is made up of people with a lot of experience. And we have a Supreme Court of 7 people, meets in this room. A lot of experience on this court. Every justice on this court but one has been a trial judge. And we have a justice on this court who has been a registered nurse, has some medical background.
Wow.
So that adds to this mix. When we sit down here today, we have been the last 2 or 3 days. In fact, probably still see some of my blood on the floor around here. We listen to each other, and we have a lot of respect for each other because each of us have a lot of experience. If you come in here as you are right now and you start talking to me about law enforcement, I'm going to listen and I'm going to respect you. But you let somebody who sells the insurance come in here and sit down and starts expounding about law enforcement, I may listen to them a little bit, but I'm not going to have the respect for them that I do somebody that has a lot of experience. So I rambled on a lot by telling you all this, but this is basically how I got to where I am today.
So it's fascinating, and we're glad that you shared your story with us.
I will say this: I was a deputy sheriff when I was Commonwealth attorney. I became a deputized when I was Commonwealth attorney, primarily to go with detective out to California escort a prisoner back. But I also got involved in some with the law enforcement. Actually, as Commonwealth attorney, I went out and participated in a few raids. In one raid, I ended up arresting the guy. And
did you have to prosecute him after that?
And I prosecuted him after that, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, in that case, it was a misdemeanor, and he got prosecuted by the county attorney. So, in doing that, I got a real good feeling, good understanding of what it's like to be a law enforcement officer. It's not easy. A lot of people don't realize how difficult some of the things we take for granted do. You conducted searches, right?
I have.
It's not fun, is it?
Not always, no.
No, it's not fun. It's not fun to go in somebody's house and start prying into their doors, go into their keepsakes, go into their closets. It's the average person, that's not much fun. But people don't think about that. It's something you got to get up and go do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things about law enforcement that I learned and have more empathy. When I was running for the Supreme Court, I got the FOP endorsement, which I was really very proud of. But I told my friends in the FOP, Fraternal Order of the Police, I'm not going to promise you guys I'm always going to rule in your favor, because I may not. I'm going to be fair and impartial. But you do know that I've been there, and I will understand what happened. I understand what you go through. That empathy, I think, is important. That's why this very experience we bring in here, my good friend Justice Keller, who's been a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
We had a medical case this week. She can share her experiences. It's very helpful to have somebody who has these experiences. So we have more of that on this court than they do on the U.S. Supreme Court.
You actually answered my question. I was going to wonder how many justices there were. Or
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court, they got now where they're restricted pretty much from taking from Ivy League schools. Nobody went to Moorhead, and they take them from the federal bench. They have very limited trial practice. There's more experience that sits in this room right here, life experience that sits right here in this room, than there is on the U.S. Supreme Court. No question about it.
so it's obviously a valuable tool for the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
I think so.
So, and just correct me, just to make sure that I'm getting this correct, but you all are, other than the United States Supreme Court, you all are the last court in. This is the last stop.
This is it. course, you can go to the U.S. if you petition the U.S. Supreme Court from us, but I've been here, Josh, for 12 years, and we've had thousands of cases come through this room. And I would say we've had maybe 5 that go to the U.S. Supreme Court. So
In all those thousands.
It hardly ever happens. It happens, but not very often.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story. I think it's a neat bridge between yourself, or the courts and law enforcement, just to hear that side of it, because people have heard me. This is I don't know, Randy's right here behind the camera. I mean, this is our 10th episode. You're close to it, or 9th. Okay, so we've done this numerous times, and we talk about law enforcement and stuff, but we've never had a chance to expand on the courts yet. So I think it's an interesting, bridge between the two careers. With that in mind, your job is very similar to law enforcement in the aspect that you have to remain a neutral party to a lot of things, and you have to be fair and impartial. Now, obviously, we're in the state capitol. There's a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different, all areas of government are in this building, that meet in this building, from the governor to the House of Representatives to the Senate, of course, to the Supreme Court. How do you go about your daily duties in the Supreme Court with all the different viewpoints and things that you see in this building?
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out about this building. We're one of the few capitals in the United States. I say few, not all capitals like us. We still have all 3 branches of government right here in this capitol.
That's right.
Legislators on the top floor, we're on the second floor, and the executive branch on the it's very valuable because the legislative session is on. I go up, mingle with the legislator. I know people in the governor's office. And it creates a respect that we have on this separation of powers. Kentucky has one of the strongest, in our state constitution, one of the strongest separation of powers provisions. So we respect different branches of government. So being fair and impartial, when I swear an oath for this office, I swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Well, what is the Constitution of the United States? What is the Constitution of Kentucky? Is the Constitution of the United States what's written down there? Is that what the Founding Fathers, 1789, meant? Or is it how the U.S. Supreme Court interprets it? Well, it has to be how the U.S. Supreme Court interprets it, or it'd be chaos. That means that lots of times, not lots of times, but many times, here in this conference room, I have to vote not the way I want to, but because of my constitutional oath. The U.S. Supreme Court has said this, and I have to follow it. The Supreme Court of the United States is the supreme law of the land. They're the final arbiter of the U.S. Constitution, just like we're the final arbiter, to some extent, final arbiter of the state Constitution, although if we bridge provisions of the U.S. Constitution, then we got those guys looking over our shoulder. But we have to, being fair and impartial, as you point out, requires us sometimes to hold our nose and vote. And law enforcement, much as I love you guys, I've had to rule. I mean, if they mess up a case, if they violate the law in some way, I have to vote that way. So I don't know if that answers your question. Not,
absolutely,
it's
yeah.
not always. It's not as easy to be fair and impartial as you might.
Sure,
think.
And I'll actually ask you the last question I'm going to ask you later. Will have to do with law enforcement on how we can do better. But a lot of people don't. They take for granted just how hard this job is. For you or for us. And in our line of work for us, we have split seconds to make a decision that changes people's lives forever. Ultimately, so
2:30 in the morning.
Well, yeah, very. I'm one of the third shift guys, so yeah, and so it's good that we have a judicial system that backs us as much as they can, but also obviously follows the letter of the law.
Lots of times right here in this room, and I'm not all my colleagues have this empathy with law enforcement to some extent. Me perhaps more than others. It's not often we'll sit back. I'll sit back and say, look, guys. It's easy for us to sit here in the Supreme Court room, safe and sound, beautiful surrounding, and second guess what this police officer did. But we have to be careful to know they have only a split second to make that decision, but we have weeks and months.
Well, and we appreciate your time and the things that you do for us in law enforcement. And so with that in mind, we're going to take a break for just a minute. We're going to give our sponsors a chance to do some stuff for them. My name is Sergeant Josh Hale. My special guest today is Supreme Court Justice Bill Cunningham. We are in Frankfort on location. We are sponsored by WBON and Babcon Electric. We will be back.
Hi, I'm Rick Babuka of Babcon Electric. Your home safety is our #1 priority. Call Babcon today and ask about our 149 Home Safety Special. A fully licensed and insured Babcon technician will replace all smoke detector batteries, tighten all electrical panel connections, test all GFI outlets, analyze electrical hotspots, and more. The Babcon Electric 149 Home Safety Special. One call will make your home safer. Call Babcon today.
Beyond the Call is brought to you exclusively by Babcon Electric.
Hi, and welcome back to our second segment of Beyond the Call. We are on location in Frankfort. This is brought to you by the Richmond Police Department, WBON TV, and Babcon Electric. My name is Sergeant Josh Hale, and I am here with my special guest today, Supreme Court Justice Bill Cunningham. So thank you again. Welcome back to the second break here.
Thank you.
And we were discussing prior to this, how great of a capital that we have and some of the places that, are involved in Frankfort. But we've just been talking to Justice Cunningham and getting his life story and finding out what the differences between his career are and between law enforcement, getting education out there, and then bridging the gap between the two. So, we'll just jump right back into it. We were talking about on the break here, this conference room. We discussed earlier, of course, where you actually work is the Supreme Court. But tell everybody what you were saying about this room in particular.
Well, we're in the workshop of the Supreme Court. This is the conference room, and it's a big, nice room. I don't know if the viewers will be able to see it or not. You're welcome to take a video of it before you leave. The courtroom, which they'll be seeing, I assume, when you take shots of it, is out here. We have our locker room back here where we robe up. But this is where we do all the pick and shovel work, and we've been in here. This is today, been in here since Monday morning, and knocking out cases. We sit around this table, and we all sit in the same place that that particular district has set for generations. We don't know why, and we debate our cases and argue our cases. A person will have an opinion and right. They'll bring in here and they'll have to defend it. And it's a very humbling exercise, and it's a very stimulating exercise. And I guess, Josh, one of the things that inspires me and impresses me the most, and this is something the viewers need to know. These justices, and my fellow justices, and I hope myself is included in that, will become so passionate and such a strong advocate for names of people they don't even know. Because they've got this case, and they've read it, and they know that Josh Hale is the one the plaintiff. They don't know Josh Hale from anybody, but they believe he's been treated unjustly, and they'll go to bat for him, and they'll fight for him, as if it was their brother or their sister. And that's an inspiring thing. Because why? Because each and every one of my brothers and sisters have a strong passion for justice. They have a strong passion for justice, and they do not want to stand by and let what they think is an injustice take place. And that's where the disagreement gets into play. There'll be a disagreement. This particular justice, or maybe two justices, or maybe three judges will think it has been, and others say, no, I disagree with it. They got a fair trial. So that's why we go at it. And it gets frustrating, very frustrating sometimes. You may be outvoted 6-1, or you might be by yourself, and you might feel like, well, am I right or wrong? When I was circuit judge, it was a lonely job. I was a circuit judge of 4 counties. I was the only circuit judge, so I had to make these decisions, especially when you get in the area of family law, family court cases where you're deciding where the children live, or you're deciding some of the unbelievable cases that come up between people. You have to make that decision. Here, you have 6 other people to help you with it. This job also becomes very lonely, though, when you're one of 7 that believes the way you do, and you got to stand by yourself and defend it and stick with it. And it's especially troubling because I consider all the 6 of them probably smarter than I am. So you're in here with 6 other people who you think, and you also have a lot of respect for their character. You begin to think, well, maybe I'm wrong. But if you're convinced that you're not, I've been on here long enough that sometimes I think they're all wrong. And I'm right, so I stick to it. So it's inspirational. It has been inspirational to me to work with these people, wonderful people actually, who have this strong passion for, and people out there in the state need to know when their case comes in here, they're not just a number. They're not just a face. They're not just. We take every one of these cases very seriously.
So how many cases does the Supreme Court take?
Well, we'll go through about 1,000 a year.
Okay. And
That's a lot. There's a very a really broad variety of cases. Now we also handle lawyer discipline.
okay.
Every month we meet here, there will be probably 8, 10, 12 lawyer discipline cases. So we have to deal with that. What, should we just bar that lawyer? Should we simply suspend him? Should we give him a public reprimand? That's part of the caseload. And it varies all. And then we have discretionary review cases. These are ones that have been at the Court of Appeals, and they don't like the decision. They want us to take their case. And our staff attorneys brief those, we decide those. Workman's comp cases, matter of right cases, which we have to take. If you receive 20 years or more in Kentucky, you come directly to us. You don't go to the intermediate court. Those are called matter of rights. We have those. We have discretion review case. So the broad range. Some of them might take 5 minutes. Others take weeks,
Really?
months. Yeah.
Huh. So you have a broad spectrum of responsibilities then.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's everything. You name it. I mean, it's everything. You think you've seen everything, and the depressing part of the job is, I see a lot of bad stuff. And just like your job, it's the same thing. We see the same thing you see, except it's a little more antiseptic. You know, a little bit cleaner. We're up here. We don't have to get out there and make the arrest. But you've seen a lot, almost everything. And about the time I think I've seen everything, I see something else. The part that really gets depressing is dealing with children. We have so much child abuse. Kentucky has one of the worst records in the United States, the way we treat children. And you see in this conference room, how parents and non-parents and boyfriends and girlfriends treat small children. Sometimes it almost makes you sick. And so one of the things that old lawyers and old judges like me have to watch out for is become jaded, because over the years you see all of this bad stuff. I mean, it's like a plumber goes into the sewer and works in the sewer all day. It's hard not to start smelling like the sewer and thinking like the sewer. And so I have to really work, and we all have to work at not thinking that this underbelly of society we deal with a lot of times is not typical, and try to maintain perspective. And that's one of the advantages of elected judges, is because we can't stay in our ivory towers. We got to come down among the people and we get out there among the people. We see their strengths, we see their characters, we see the hard-working farmers, we see doctors who have a passion for healing, we see teachers who are out there. They're out there molding children. It's much better that we develop strong children than to do what we have to do, and that is repair broken men. And so by having to get out there and be elected and keep contact, it helps us keep things in perspective, and so that we don't become jaded. We don't think everybody. And in law enforcement, you've got that problem. You've got to really watch it.
We do, yep. Now, a lot of officers, as their career progresses, they will, because of all the negativity and the things that we see and deal with, it's statistically, people become more negative in their viewpoint.
Everybody lies, and you think everybody, so you have to work against that.
That's true. So with that in mind, that kind of brings me to another question I was going to ask you. You've been doing this for a long time in a lot of different capacities, from law enforcement to prosecutor to Supreme Court. What changes have you seen in law enforcement since you've been here or since you've been doing this?
The biggest change I've seen in law enforcement is the professionalism of the sheriff's office. I mean, that's the sheriffs in the state over the years since I started prosecuting have become so professional. You know that. You
Oh, yes,
your local
absolutely.
sheriff. I mean, there was a time when the local ruler, the local sheriff was a politician first, and the tax collector second, and then law enforcement last. But they have become so professional, the people are well trained. That's probably the biggest change I have seen in law enforcement. But I think it probably can be said of all agencies, the state police have always had that high level of professionalism. They've always been highly respected, highly trained. County sheriffs, local law enforcement like the city, have not always been that way. Your agency, the city, all law enforcement agencies have been elevated. And a lot of that I give the people upstairs in the legislature credit, because they've got all those training requirements now. It's all been positive. You know, one of the things that has come about is that we have a decline in jury trials in criminal cases since in the last 10, 15 years. We know the decline in jury trials for civil cases is probably attributed to mediation, arbitration, other alternative dispute venues. It's a little bit harder. Why are we having a decline in jury trials for criminal cases? We got, the crime rate stays pretty stable. My feeling is because law enforcement has improved to the point they make better cases, and whenever the defense lawyer gets the case, he knows he better start working on a plea agreement rather than take it to trial, because he doesn't see you messing up a search. You're much more trained, much more informed, and you get it right. Used to, when you had not as professional police force as you do now, the defense lawyer look at that, well, that's an illegal search. Or, he's not going to get that evidence in. He thinks he is. He's not going to get that evidence in. Now, the quality of law enforcement is so much better. They make better cases. You get more guilty police.
So I guess that would kind of lead me to my last question before we take another break. What advice can you give, or how can law enforcement officers better prepare? I know we're making that good trend, but how can we keep on preparing? So obviously, so that we don't end up in your court, other than maybe to interview for something like this.
First, you got to be a good person to start with. Nobody can do what mom and dad didn't do. Raise a good child. You got to be a good person. If you're not, if you're a good person, you're going to try to do the right thing. You're going to try to be honest. You're not going to abuse anybody. You're not going to be able to go to sleep at night if you think some innocent person's going to jail. And then, if you're a good person, you get into the main thing is try to maintain your objectivity and not become jaded. One thing I've worked with law enforcement officers for a long time. One problem I found is there was law enforcement officers that began to burn out and began to get jaded more. They did not have enough trust in the system. I'm the prosecuting attorney. You're the investigating officer. You come to me, we talk about it. I have my role to play. You have your role to play. The judge has his role to play. Public defender. You trust everybody to do their job capable and competent. And I know I worked with one great state detective. I mean, he was outstanding. But he got emotionally involved in his cases to the point that he tried to carry the whole system on his shoulders. He tried to be prosecutor, judge, jury, and everything. And it got really frustrating. It started affecting his testimony because jury began to not misrepresent intentionally, but would be kind of biased in his testimony.
Well, so I guess it's just important for us to, cross every T, dot every I, and everything that we do, and just continue to fight the good fight, I guess, and serve the public.
Well, and it's very important you be a good witness. And what juries want to see, and law enforcement officers want to see, is some guy we can trust. If you get on the stand, you're very candid. Mm-hmm. Most of the questions I ask of you by a defense lawyer, your answer is not going to hurt your case. A lot of law enforcement officers think, what's he trying to trick me? You be candid and open. If you got a good case, you're telling the truth. Don't look defensive when the defense lawyer cross-examines, and be totally objective. Let the jury think that guy's working for us. He's working to make our streets safer, but he's also working to make sure that my daughter doesn't get picked up for some charge she's not guilty of. He's protecting us. And try to establish that kind of connection with the jury.
Well, speaking of working for the people, my special guest today is Supreme Court Justice Bill Cunningham. We're going to take a break. This is Beyond the Call. My name is Sergeant Josh Hale, sponsored by the Richmond Police Department, WBON TV, and Babcon Electric.
Hi, I'm Rick Babuka of Babcon Electric. Your home safety is our #1 priority. Call Babcon today and ask about our 149 Home Safety Special. A fully licensed and insured Babcon technician will replace all smoke detector batteries, tighten all electrical panel connections, test all GFI outlets, analyze electrical hotspots, and more. The Babcon Electric 149 Home Safety Special. One call will make your home safer. Call Babcon today.
Beyond the Call is brought to you exclusively by Babcon Electric.
Hi, welcome back. This is our program Beyond the Call, sponsored by the Richmond Police Department, WBON TV, and Babcon Electric. My name is Sergeant Josh Hale. I'm with my special guest, Supreme Court Justice Bill Cunningham. And for the third segment, again, we are still on location here in Frankfort in the State Capitol building. We are actually in the library and the conference room for the Supreme Court of Kentucky. So very, very cool location. This last segment is something that we always do called the wrap-up on this program. What we do is we tell you about the things that we have going on for our community and give you some basic information. As always, you can catch all of this on Facebook for WBON TV and for the Richmond Police Department, and you can also catch it on Twitter. We'll post all that stuff. We want to make sure that you follow us, get all that information. We have a lot of valuable information on here. If you'll watch all the way through, we put basically like a small commercial or PSA, public service announcement, on there for you. While we're talking about Facebook and Twitter, we want to make sure that you understand that that is not monitored 24/7. So a lot of people like to spend a lot of time online, and if you need something, we are happy to respond to your messages on Facebook and Twitter, but it is not monitored all the time. So, as always, if you need help for an emergency, please call 911. That will take care of every emergency service there in Madison County. Also, if it is a non-emergency number, we'll put the number right here on the screen for you, and that is the dispatch number at 859-624-4776. So again, please don't make sure you don't send us messages all the time on Facebook. If you have an emergency, again, call 911. So with that in mind, we got some upcoming events that we have for the police department. Another event that we have coming up that we're still accepting applications for is our Citizens Police Academy, and that starts on September 10th and it goes through November 12th. Now that is only on Monday nights, and it's going to go from 6:30 until about 8:30 or 9, depending on what the what the exercise is each night. But unfortunately, you cannot become a police officer just from working on Monday nights, with us to do the CPA. But you must be 18 years of age or older, but it is free to you. So it is a fun event if you want to come join us for the Citizens Police Academy. We'll talk a lot about different law enforcement things that we do. I've just asked Justice Cunningham if he'll come be our guest. We'll see if we can pull that off or not. But we've got that going on. We partner with a lot of different agencies in Madison County. So please come put your application in for that. You can get that on our Facebook page. You can also get it on our website for the City of Richmond or any of the police departments that are partnering, like Berea, Madison County Sheriff, the State Police, EKU, and then, of course, we've got DOCJT also. So one more thing we have going on is a big thing. Of course, we've talked about law enforcement with you today, sir, and we've talked about a lot of the, the way the courts are involved. We always need good police officers out there. Right now, the Richmond Police Department is starting another recruitment process, and I know for a fact that whenever we put this on Facebook and we post this, that link to our will be on our Facebook page. It is actually tabbed right there at the very top of the page so that you can click on that, find the application, and you can go ahead and fill that out and turn that into us. So you can also get on our City of Richmond website for the Human Resources page, and you can do it right there also. So get that to us if you have any desire to be a police officer. Obviously, you have to be 21 years of age or older to be a police officer because you have to carry a firearm. So that's if you have an interest in a career in law enforcement, please go put your application in, and we'd love to see if you can come join our team. We also have some things going on coming up for our Labor Day campaign. We have the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign, and that goes from August 17th until September 3rd of 2018. And this is funding that is provided by the National Highway Traffic Safety administration. So this is our little public service announcement about that. Obviously, we do this every year nationally, and the Richmond Police Department takes a huge stance on drunk driving. So if you plan to drink alcohol, and that is your choice, please make sure you plan to have a designated driver. You know, we want to make sure that you understand that drunken driver crashes are 100% preventable if you plan and you plan responsibly and you prevent accordingly. So, you know, there's a lot of crashes nationally that include alcohol, and we don't want that to happen in Richmond or anywhere else. You know, you need to understand that, you know, we at Richmond, we take this very, very serious. If you decide that you want to drink and drive, you need to beware, especially during this campaign. We are going to be out in full force. So we're also joining with other law enforcement agencies across the nation during this Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. So again, let me give you the dates. The campaign goes from August 17th through September 3rd, you know, the Labor Day, you know, holiday weekends and stuff. We will be out in full force. So again, if you choose to drink alcohol, please choose to be responsible in doing so that we can keep everybody safe. You know, with that in mind, I want to kind of go back to my guest here. Justice Cunningham, I want to thank you very much for your time today. I know that you shared your life story with us, and it's been very fascinating for me. And of course, Randy's behind the camera here, and we've talked. And actually, my daughter is behind the camera here too. You can't see her either, but it's just been a fascinating experience that we've gotten to know you and hear what you have to say. So I want to thank you for your time, sir.
The honor has been all mine.
Well, we appreciate it. We know that you are in session. We actually had the Supreme Court in session this morning, so he cleared his schedule for us. So we appreciate that.
Welcome you back anytime there. And I might say this: our sessions are open to the public. You can come up here when we have an order. Back here's not.
Right.
You wouldn't want to hear all this anyway. But our oral arguments are open to the public, and you also can be live streamed. If you really get lonely, you can watch them live stream.
Well, hey, that may be something that some of our viewers are interested in, because maybe we have somebody out there that wants to be a lawyer or has been a police officer and wants to get a law degree and become a Supreme Court justice.
You can call here and find out what cases we've got coming up. You can go online. You can go online our Supreme Court and you can look up oral arguments. You know what cases are going to be heard the next month. And there might be something that you're particularly interested in. Like this week, we've had some really pretty heavy cases today. We had a right to work law that we had argued. Earlier in the week, we had the medical panels that the legislature's passed. So you don't have to really be a lawyer to be interested in these topics and what people say, but you're welcome to join us that way or come up here and I'm here. And you want to see around the Supreme Court, and I'm available. I'll be glad to welcome you here. And
I'll kind of tell on myself on how we came to meet Justice Cunningham. We actually had our summer camp last year, and we were up here in lime green T-shirts with 50 kids. Of course, we've talked about our summer camp on previous episodes, and I was going around and I was knocking on doors, and Justice Cunningham was very nice and gracious to entertain the kids and talk to them. So, I would highly encourage you to come and view our Capitol. What we'll do is we will actually put the website for the Supreme Court or for your local government on our podcast here, on our video program. So we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to come and experience this, because this is a beautiful building here in, obviously in our great Commonwealth. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank my guest again for being here. I want to thank WBON TV and Babcon Electric, and as always, of course, the Richmond Police Department. My name is Sergeant Josh Hale. We thank you for joining us here on location in Frankfort, and we will see you next time. Thanks.
Beyond the Call is a monthly program featuring public safety and educational topics with the Richmond Police Department.